Good morning, everyone. I hope that you can hear me.
Good morning. Yes, we can hear you.
Welcome to the workshop for the lead applicants. My name is ENI. I'm the head of the Joint Secretariat. And today I have with me my colleagues, Mikhail Pavlik. He's our communication team leader, who will present you some issues related to the communication and some partner search opportunities that we created. And then we have my colleague Natalia Liholot. She's the project officer, that she's responsible for the ENI call, and Mirjana Arsenish-Petrovic, she is the financial manager, and she is also responsible for the financial part for the call.
Da to možemo sad samo taj dio od ovih
I would
staviti.
like to ask everyone to mute themselves for the meeting, because otherwise we cannot hear each other, as well as turn off.
Videla sam ovo reći tamo.
Please mute yourself.
Excuse me, you are muted. We cannot hear you.
Yes, someone muted also me. Okay. So before we start with some further information, I would like to say that the presentations today will be recorded because we would like to publish them on our website. So in case by participating to this meeting, you agree on the fact that it is recorded, and in case you do not want to be seen, please turn off your camera. Anyway, it will be visible, the slide and the presentation my colleague will present during the meeting. So this is one important element. You have seen that we created this Slido, and you have to go to the right part of the screen. And in case you didn't accept on the window, you have a pop-up window for the Slido. In case you didn't accept, then you have to go to apps and to initiate the Slido. There you can ask questions and answers in written. You can be anonymous for the questions in case you don't want someone to know your name, or you can write your name if you wish so. For us, it's fine either way. My colleagues will have the presentation, and while they are presenting, if there are unclear issues, you can already write them in the Slido. And at the end of the presentation, we will answer all your questions that are written down. Furthermore, if you have additional questions, of course, after the presentation, we will stop the recording, and you can raise your hand and ask further questions through WebEx. One thing I would like to highlight before giving the floor to my colleague Mikhail is that this is a special call. It's an ENI call with a limited amount of money, which is addressing increasing the governance in the Republic of Moldova in Ukraine, and the capacity of the stakeholders to participate in transnational projects. This is not a call for a new program, for a new financing period. This year, of course, we are planning to launch the first call of the new program at the end of spring, beginning of summer, provided that all conditionalities are met for launching the call, meaning that the program is submitted for the adoption to the Commission and the task force approves the program. And for that new program, we have a series of new specific objectives and a roughly budget of 230 million euro Interreg funds. For those for the new program, we will organize in the close future, starting from March, we hope so, further workshops for each specific objective. So this is not about the new program, the new financing period, it's about the ongoing program, the new transnational program. These are the elements I would have liked to highlight at the beginning. I wish you a very nice meeting. Have many questions, we can clarify all of them, and I give the floor to my colleague Mikhail for further information. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Simona. I hope you can hear me. Yes? Yes? Okay, perfect. Good morning, everyone. I'm happy I can join and also greet you before the seminar starts and before everybody is too tired to absorb more information. Basically, my role is to answer some of the questions we have received prior to this seminar about the partnership, which, as you all know, is a very important element of the call. The funding that you can receive from this call is conditioned by forming a partnership with organizations from other countries. And originally we planned a seminar, matchmaking seminar or partner making seminar, which would take place in person, maybe also connected with this seminar we have now online, but that's not possible because of obvious circumstances and the coronavirus. So we decided to move this matchmaking exercise online. And to do that, we will use social media and the opportunities it offers us. So we created two groups that you can join. One is on Facebook and one is on LinkedIn. For those who don't have account on either or both of them, you have to create this profile to be member of these groups. You can join them by simply requesting to join, and I will approve your request. In terms of privacy, the LinkedIn group is already private and the Facebook group will become private tomorrow. It wasn't possible to set up the group private from the beginning, so we will have to wait until tomorrow when it becomes private. After that, only members of the group will see what you post there, so no worries about someone outside of this group stealing your ideas or learning about what you are doing. For both groups, we already included some instructions what you should include in your post in case you decide to share information about your organization or about your project idea. And then we would like to encourage you to contact directly organizations which you are interested in or you think that are good for your partnership. So let me share the links now in the chat. First, I will share with you a link to the LinkedIn group. Here it is. As I said, this one you have to request to become a member, and I will approve that afterwards. This is the link to the Facebook group. It's open, but it will become private tomorrow. So either you join today, and after tomorrow you have to again request access to become the member. And alternatively, if you don't want to use social media or if you don't find this instrument effective to what you need, you can also contact our contact points we have in each of the countries of the member countries of the program. So in case you are interested to find a partner from any of these countries, you can directly turn to them and ask them to put you in contact with relevant organizations or institutions. If you have any questions about these groups or about how to reach out to partners, feel free to also contact me directly by email or through this chat. I will be following the seminar and I can answer your questions anytime. So I wish you a successful seminar and I hope to meet you maybe sometime in person, but if not, I'm available at this chat or email, as I said. So good luck. Bye-bye.
Good day, dear participants. Thank you, Michal, for your presentation. My name is Natalia Likholiot. I am a DTP project officer, and together with my colleague, Mirjana Arsenich Petrovich, financial manager, we are going to walk you on all the steps on how to develop a successful project proposal. So in case you do not hear me properly or you have problems with the screen when I share my presentation, please let us know in chat for us to make sure that we do not have technical issues. First of all, let me share the screen. Hope you see the presentation now. Let me walk you through the agenda. So our seminar will start with the introduction and time frame of the ENI call for proposal. Then we will move on to project requirements, intervention logic, and indicators. The next part will be dedicated to the main elements of the application form, and we will go to EMS system directly, and I will show you in practice how to fill in the application form. Then we will have a break. After the break, financial management of the project, budget planning, and eligibility of expenditure will be presented. Then again, there will be a presentation on project assessment, eligibility and quality assessment. In the end, you will have an opportunity to ask questions. I would like to drag your attention to the fact that after each presentation, we will ask you whether you have questions. And if so, you will be able to post them in chat or ask them personally by raising hands. So, first of all, I would like to say that the Danube Transnational Program is a financing instrument with a specific scope and an independent decision-making body. There are 4 priorities within the DTP program, and this current ENI scheme framework is open within their 4th priority, and namely under the specific objective 4.1, improve institutional capacities to tackle major societal challenges. Current needs are related to the issues on how to improve institutional frameworks for cooperation, how to improve the quality of policies and their delivery, and how to deliver solutions through smart pilot actions. ENI scheme framework aims to build the capacity of Danube region territories to work in a more integrated and participatory way through established partnership and networks, through exchange and learning, as well as through the action planning, implementation, and transfer processes. On the slide, you may see the following objectives which are tackled within this specific objective. Support the enhanced cooperation of public administrations at national, regional, and local levels. Increase the institutional capacity of the ENI country stakeholders to develop and implement transnational projects in the Danube region in thematic fields of the Danube Region Program 2021-2027. The program area covers 9 EU member states. As you may see on the slide, these are Austria, Bulgaria, Croatia, Czech Republic, Hungary, Germany. Pay attention that in Germany, not the whole country is covered, but only 2 lands, Baden-Württemberg and Bavaria, Romania, Slovakia, and Slovenia. ENI countries, Moldova and Ukraine. In Ukraine, also, only 4 regions are eligible: Chernihiv Oblast, Ivano-Frankivsk Oblast, Zakarpatska Oblast, and Odessa Oblast. IPA countries are also part of the Danube Transnational Program, but within this specific ENI call, they cannot be fully financial partners. They can be involved as associated strategic partners. So IPA countries, we mean Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, and Republic of Serbia. Next slide. Partnership. It is planned that at least 2 project partners are required to form the project partnership. 1 partner from EADF country and 1 partner from ENI country. 1 project should involve partners either from Ukraine or from Moldova. So, meaning that the EADF partner must be lead partner, and it can go to partnership with either Moldovan partners and form a partnership from Moldova without mixing it with Ukraine, and vice versa. If, for example, Slovakia goes with partnership with Ukraine, it doesn't mix Moldova in the partnership. Associated strategic partners are also eligible. Those should be organizations whose participation is considered crucial for the added value of their given thematic partnership. And please pay attention that associate strategic partners, as I have already mentioned, they will not have their separate budget. They will be sponsored either by EDF country or ENI country. So EDF partners can sponsor EDF associated strategic partners, ENI, ASPs, and IPAs. But ENI partners can sponsor either ENI, associated strategic partners, or IPA. The lead partner, the financial one, the one who signs the subsidy contract and who directly receives money from the program, should be from those 9 EU member states. The EDF partner should be the lead partner. But as far as this call is open specifically for ENI countries, Ukraine and Moldova, there will be an option. It's just an option, actually. If the partnership would like to remain it on a traditional way, it is also possible. But still, there is an option to nominate among the partners content lead partner, who will be responsible for the management of the content of project and ensuring coordinated implementation of activities. In total, it is eligible to involve up to 3 EDF partners and up to 5 ENI partners. Eligibility of partnership. The ideal lead partner and project partners should be part of the local, regional, national public bodies governed by public law. The partners can be national, regional, and local organizations implementing policies in the relevant thematic fields. Semi-public institutions such as regional development associations and promoters, innovation and development agencies, research institutes and universities, regional and local associations of enterprises, for example, chambers of commerce are eligible, professional organizations. Regional, local, and country self-governance and their organizations acting as legal entities, regional councils, international organizations, EGTCs, and the applicants must have their seats or a regional local branch registered in an eligible program area. Non-state actors such as NGOs, organizations representing national, ethnic minorities, local organizations, including networks involved in the decentralized regional cooperation and integration, consumer organizations, women's and youth organizations, teaching, cultural, research, and scientific organizations. You have to understand that the involvement of public sector is not a knockout criteria, but when involving into the partnership NGOs, universities, you have to describe in the application form and justify their relevance in terms of achieving the main objective of the project. As far as I want to repeat myself, this ENI call is opened under the specific objective 4.1, improve institutional capacities to tackle major societal challenges. And please pay special attention that private profit-making partners are not eligible to apply for funding under the call. Ideal partnership should have optimal transnational representation. So it means the partnership should be linked to problems and challenges identified, and it should also include institutions from respective countries. Complementary sectoral expertise, necessary expertise at relevant administrative levels, sufficient financial, technical, and human resources to implement project activities. Here I would like to stop and pay special attention on the fact that the DTP is functioning on a reimbursement principle, meaning that first you need to spend your own money and finance activities. After this, you report. After this, the program also has time to check your reports after FLC does a verification, and only after this you receive money. So please mind, so it can take 7-9 months. So you need to be aware of this. And when going to the partnership and applying for this ENI call, you have to make sure that you have enough sufficient financial resources in particular. Also, responsibilities of project partners. It's also important to understand that partners have to be responsible for carrying out activities planned in the approved application form and agreed in the partnership agreement. Actually, partnership agreement is the main document which regulates responsibilities and relationships among partners and in between themselves. Also, partners have to be responsible for submitting reports of project activities to payment claims, assuming responsibility of any irregularity in the expenditure which it has declared, repaying the lead partner any amounts unduly paid in accordance with the partnership agreement, carrying out information and communication measures for the public about the project activities. Within the ENI call for proposal, there are 3 work packages, and you may see these mighty ants standing here and holding a dumbbell, meaning that each project has to tackle 1 work package. So 3 work packages, meaning that there will be 3 projects for Ukraine and 3 projects for Moldova. In total, there will be 6 projects. The first work package relates to awareness raising and communication. The second one, the name of the second one is setting up policy dialogue. Then capacity building for the Ukrainian and Moldovan national, regional, local public authorities. I would like to stop on each of them for you to have a clear comprehension what activities are stipulated and are set up under each work package. This is a non-exhaustive list of activities actually, and if partnership will find out that they need to add some more relevant activities, they can add. So under the first work package, awareness raising and communication, it is very important to understand that when raising awareness on transnational cooperation and its benefits in the ENI countries, you need to include mandatory communication issues, and you need to be in line with the requirements which are set out in the regulation. So the first activity is organization of thematic conferences on topics relevant for transnational cooperation, as defined in the new Danube Region Program 2021-2027, namely innovation capacities and the uptake of advanced technologies, developing skills for smart specialization, industrial transition and entrepreneurship, renewable energy, climate change adaptation capacities in the Danube region, and disaster management on transnational level in relation to environmental risks and taking into account ecosystem-based approaches, water management, transnational ecological corridors, transboundary ecological regions, water habitats, wetlands along major transnational rivers, policy, planning, and institutional capacity towards more accessible, inclusive, and effective labor markets in the Danube region, services in education, training and lifelong learning, culture and sustainable tourism in economic development, social inclusion and social innovation governments. The project should not focus on a single thematic field, but should address the topics in an integrated manner. The next activity is creation videos and showcasing the success stories with territorial focus, illustrating the ENI countries' benefits when participating in the Danube region transnational cooperation projects. The videos should be created in local languages with English subtitles, and they will be used to raise awareness of existence of transnational cooperation funds, as well as the added value for the relevant stakeholders. Then development and implementation of communication and PR campaigns, for example, in social media like LinkedIn. Creation sectoral networks of key stakeholders that can act as multipliers. And the partnership should ensure that the relevant stakeholders representing also the regional, local level are reached and not focus merely on the national level. But this also refers mainly to Republic of Moldova as far as the whole country is eligible. The second work package relates to setting up policy dialogue in thematic fields which represent a major challenge for the region as defined in the Danube Program 2021-2027, those ones which I have already mentioned. And again, I would like to put a stress on the fact that the projects should not be focused on a single thematic field, but should address the topics in an integrated manner and should be cross-sectoral. The following activities are set out, like scoping study on enabling policy environment, policy briefs actually as discussion basis for policy dialogues, local, regional, national dialogue events on EU policies with intensified involvement of civic society and local stakeholders, forums of ideas and solutions for the development of the capacity of the Danube region to apply EU policies in major topics of the region. The project should serve not only for initiating policy dialogue, but also to setting up its whole process and ensuring its durability. For example, each dialogue should have results in the form of jointly elaborated recommendations, which can be further be used in the policy processes. For example, concrete plans, ideas to be developed within the project and ideally already implemented by the project. The partnership should ensure that the relevant stakeholders representing all levels, local, regional, national, are tackled. The third work package relates to capacity building for the Ukrainian and Moldovan national, regional, local public authorities. Also, the following activities are included, like capacity building survey of training needs in the regions, design and delivery of training programs, workshops for strengthening the participation of ENI stakeholders in transnational projects relevant for the Danube region, action plans, institutional capacity building roadmaps, implementation of action plans and roadmaps, and on-site trainings, twinning activities which bring together public sector expertise from EU member states and ENI countries with the aim of achieving concrete mandatory operational results through peer-to-peer activities. For example, we can make an example like experience exchange between FLCs, auditors, where the FLC system works perfectly. They could share with ENI countries what can be improved and what are the steps to the successful FLC system. And the project activities must have a strong territorial focus. The scope is to increase the institutional capacity of the Ukrainian and Moldovan stakeholders to develop and implement transnational projects dealing with major Danube region challenges. Work packages. So as I have mentioned, besides the activities listed in the work packages, the lead applicants can add complementary activities, provided that it is feasible to implement within the project timeframe and that they contribute to the objectives of the selected work package. Besides mentioned thematic work packages, each project will have mandatory management, publicity, and communication work package. In this work package, the lead applicant shall provide a management plan that ensures the feasibility of full implementation of the proposed activities. So in total, one project will have two work packages. One will be management, and the second one will be one of those three, meaning that you need to select the thematic work package. Project outputs. It is projects should also define their project outputs in order to contribute to the program-specific output indicators that capture their work and effort. The following outputs are set out, like awareness-raising campaigns, studies, action plans, roadmaps to enhance human resource management and development, policy framework, for example, policies, laws, and regulations, organizational management, structure, staffing, financing, work processes, facilities, and equipment. Task networks, for example, communication with other departments, stakeholders outside government, capacity building actions in the focus areas such as financial management, economic planning and statistics, organizational management, for example, training programs, conferences, workshops, study visits. As I have mentioned, project outputs have to correspond to program output indicators, which are predefined by the program. So the mandatory indicator is, there's only one mandatory: number of documented learning interactions in finalized operations. So documented learning interactions is defined as process of acquiring enhanced applicants' knowledge and capacity for transnational cooperation through capacity building, training, exchange of experience, or any other types of learning processes. So each project is expected to develop at least one learning interaction. Here you may see other program output indicators, which are also predefined. P26 is the number of strategies for strengthening institutional capacities and transnational multi-level governance and developed and/or implemented. P27, number of tools for strengthening institutional capacities and supporting transnational multi-level governance developed and/or implemented. And P28, number of pilot actions for strengthening institutional capacities and supporting transnational multi-level governance developed and implemented. So you have to identify, to select out of those output indicators, but you need to select the project result by yourself, and it should be defined by the applicants. Projects are expected to contribute to the output indicators. Yes, at least one, and one is mandatory. You have to remember this. Link with the EU SDR. The Danube region strategy addresses a wide range of issues, and these are divided among 4 pillars and 12 priority areas. The EU SDR action plan represents operational objectives, projects, and actions for each priority area. In addition, concrete targets are defined for each priority area. Each priority area is managed by priority area coordinators, PACs. Steering groups advise and assess the work of PACs. Further to that, some priority areas created working groups around some themes and tasks. The national coordinators also coordinate the participation of their country in the implementation of the EU SDR. So to say, the EU SDR creates the direction to the Danube transnational program, and it should be considered through the development of your project how the EU SDR action plan is embedded and activities. For example, applicants being in contact with their respective DTP national contact point during the preparation phase of their project might also use this opportunity for getting fruitful advice and guidelines. Here on the slide, you may see also the website. You can go there and read and get acquainted better with the EU SDR and processes which are taking place. Intervention logic. I put a scheme for you to understand it better because the core principle of Danube transnational program is result orientation. And this is the basis for the result orientation approach. And the basis for the result orientation approach is the change. So when developing a project, your project should bring a change, actually, in certain steps. Your activities should bring change, yes. Therefore, all projects that will be approved and implemented need to embrace the same principle. The intervention logic should reflect the path of the project and the necessary steps that will lead to change. It should be clear, simple, and easy to monitor and implement. So the project intervention logic is a tool that needs to show how the change will be achieved. Therefore, it should define a clear status quo related to the project context. So you need to ask yourself, what is a problem we are solving by the project, including causes that influence it. The next question, the change that the project wants to achieve. Then the specific objectives have to be identified. The actions and the outputs that are needed in order to achieve the change, including the definition of stakeholders and target groups, the results, and their durability. When developing the project intervention logic, the first question that should be answered is what positive change the implementation of my project will bring. The budget, here I want to say that the maximum ERDF budget is roughly 1.4 million euro. For each project, a maximum budget which can be allocated from the ERDF fund is 230,000 euro, meaning that if one project involves like 2 or 3 ERDF partners, the total ERDF budget within one project should not be more than 230,000 euro. What concerns ENI fund? It is different for Ukraine and Moldova. For Ukraine, it is 2.48 million euro. For Moldova, it is 2.33 million euro. An important fact, and I have already mentioned about it, that the program is operating on the reimbursement principle. 85% will be reimbursed and 50% will be a co-financing. So first you need to invest your own money and implement activities at your own expense. And then after reporting to FLC, to the program, you will be reimbursed 80% of spent costs. Eligibility of expenditures. So within the ENI call, infrastructure is not eligible. You cannot build a road or renovate a building. Eligible costs will relate only to staff costs, office and administration, travel and accommodation, external expertise and services, and equipment. Project duration. You have to keep in mind when developing your project and when you plan your activities that the deadline for the project end. So the last date is the 30th of June 2023 when the project will have to end, and there will be no possibility for prolongation. Deadline for submission of the application forms is the 10th of March 2022, 3 p.m. Central European Time. So meaning that actually there will be a project which can the duration of which can be 1 year. Documents for submission. So the submission of the application form is mandatory for applying for funding within the ENI call for proposal. And before filling in the application form in the monitoring system, EMS, it is very important for the applicants to carefully read the DTP call for proposal and all the relevant documents. So I will go to the website and show you where you can find them. And in addition, first I would like to finish what is presented on the slide. So accept the application form, which is filled in electronically in EMS. You have to submit partnership agreement, state aid declaration, declaration of pre-financing and co-financing, declaration of international organizations, associated strategic partner declaration, lead partner confirmation and signature. These documents have to be properly filled in and signed. So now I would like to share my screen with you and show you where you can find the documents on the website. So hope you see. If you go to calls, call for proposals, ENI call for proposals, here we are. So you may see all the information and here you may find all the necessary documents. It can sound funny, but my request for you is please read them. You will find a lot of necessary information. Application procedure. Here, by pushing EMS, you will go directly to EMS, and later on I will show you how to register and how to fill in the application form there. And of course, the program will provide support. You can write emails or you can call or address to us, and if you have any questions, we will respond. So as far as I can see, we have some questions. And let's start from the beginning. Who are ERDF partners?
Actually, just a second. Actually,
Yes.
I answered in chat already. So there are additional questions. Okay. So I answered all these questions in chat. We can go to questions. or people can write in Slido, as we asked before. It's much easier for everyone to see.
Okay, so Simona, which questions you haven't answered? Tell me, please, for me to follow. So you answered all.
Answered all,
Okay,
all questions are answered in chat.
in chat. Okay. So here, questions and answers also. We have a question. In the same project, can we have partners from both Moldova and Ukraine as a trilateral partnership? And if yes, how the budget can be allocated? The answer is no. One project should not mix partnership with Moldova and Ukraine. It should refer only either Moldova or Ukraine. Another question, is there a maximum amount allocated per project per country for Moldova and for Ukraine? The same principle for EDF allocation. The maximum number of projects, 3 per Moldova and 3 per Ukraine, is an indication in terms of allocated funds projects. So I would like to say that in case of ERDF countries, there's a limit. As I have mentioned, 213,000 euro. And for Ukraine and for Moldova, we didn't set a limit per work package actually. And you can go to any amount which is justified by the project activities, and it will be feasible for you to pre-finance actually and to justify that these activities really worth this amount. Okay, since we have no other questions for now, we will go to the practical part. Practical, I mean that we go together to EMS live. Here I'll show you, as I have mentioned, on the project website, you will be able to go to EMS here live. Today, we will use a test version, so it will look exactly the same. First of all, you need to register. The lead applicant should register first. By pushing the button register, you can fill in all this information. And for you to understand better, EMS is a web application that can be used with any up-to-date browser like Mozilla, Firefox, Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Internet Explorer, or Safari. For technical reasons, EMS only supports the latest version of these browsers. The application can access EMS through the link, as I have showed you, and the user has to select a password with a length of at least 8 characters containing lowercase letters, capital letters, and digits. So registration is to be finalized by clicking on the link sent automatically by the system. And if you will not be able to find it in your email, just check also your spam folder. So if you are registered, I will go back because I am already registered, and I will log in under my credentials. You will be able to add project by pushing the button Add. Go to ENI calls for proposal, push Apply. And here you can fill in. So program priorities, specific objectives, they are already predefined. You need to fill everything and push the button Create, and either here or here, and only then your project will be created and you will be able to save it. I want to exit because we have pre-created a project for you to see. So project summary, as you see, the important thing is to fill in all those necessary fields to identify the starting date of the project and the end date of the project. It is very important because otherwise you will not be able to move on and plan your activities and budget. Project summary should be like general overview of the project, the involvement of partners, how it corresponds to the specific objective. It should be like, it shouldn't be very detailed and precise, describing all the activities, which will be implemented, but it should be understandable what the project is aiming to achieve and what the main idea and what are the main partners involved. So here you can also push save when finishing this part. And as you may see, there are different sections here on the top. Project summary is the first. Then there's partner section, project description, work plan, project budget. We will go one by one, step by step. Application form should be submitted within the deadline. It's also important to mind, indicated in the call for proposal, which is the 10th of March. And when you need to pay attention that when filling in the application form, you need to make sure that you saved everything, because the system doesn't warn you a lot. If we will go to the folder partner, so here we have pre-filled partners. Anyway, you can add a new partner by pushing the button new partner or new associated partner. And filling all this necessary data, I'll go back and show you how we pre-filled it. For example, and there should be a special order. First, you fill in the lead partner, then partners, ENI partners, Ukraine partners, for example, Moldovan partners, and then associated strategic partners. So, for example, lead partner, full name in original language, official name in English, acronym. So please mind that when identifying acronym, you need to put like EADF first, LP, like lead partner, and the abbreviation of the partner's name. Address, you need to select also the country, let it be Romania in this case, but you can select out of other countries. And you go to smaller regions. For example, it can be the capital city like we predefined in our case. Street, house number, and home page. Here you have to select the type of partner. So it can be local public authority, regional public authority, national public authority. Like we made an example that it's a ministry, so it's obviously national public authority. And here co-financing, legal status, public or private, co-financing source, EADF, IPA, ENI for Moldova and Ukraine, 85%, legal representatives. So when filling this data, of course, you need to add names of people, contact person, legal representative, but the system will warn you if the email address will be created incorrectly. So it should contain it should have proper ending, and if it is not filled correctly, the system will warn you. And it's also very important for the program, as far as we will hold communication with you via electronic means. Here you also need to identify territorial and thematic relevance of partners, project partners, internal organization for implementing effective public procurement. Here you need to describe what is the procedures within your institution, how procurement process is taking place. When you will see not applicable for ENI call, it means that you should not fill in. So it should remain blank. You can remove partner or you can save and move on. If you want to create a new partner, you have to go back to partner folder and add new partner or new associated partner. The next section is project description. So first, it consists of project relevance, project focus, project context, and horizontal principles. We go to project relevance first. So here you need to identify territorial challenges. So it should be like an analysis of their needs and challenges of the regions in terms of strengthening the capacity for participation in transnational projects. Cooperation criteria. Here we'd like to pay special attention that 2 cooperation criteria are mandatory: joint development and joint implementation. So you have to select them anyway. The minimum requirement is to have 3 joint cooperation criteria. So out of joint staffing and joint finance, you can select, or you can select 4 of them. In these boxes, you need to provide a description. Again, you need to push the button Save in order to make sure that all the data are saved. Project focus. Program-specific objective, improve institutional capacity to tackle major societal challenges. So in the applicant's manual, you will be able to find that project main objective and project-specific objectives are predefined by the program. Project result indicator should be selected, and you need to identify your result yourself actually, and to elaborate a proper description of the result. Project-specific objectives, here you can add, actually you can add up to 3 and provide different descriptions. Not applicable fields, it means that you do not need to save them. You can push the button Save here or here, as I mentioned, but don't forget to do that. Project context. Here you see not applicable for the ENI call, and here we have policy and strategic background. So EU strategy for the Danube region. So how the project will contribute to the EU strategies with a focus on EU SDR. Here it's not enough just to say, yes, the project will influence positively, or yes, we will have a link with the EU SDR. It is not sufficient. Please provide a description. How maybe PACs will be involved? What will be your interaction, communication with the EU SDR, PACs, national contact points? So here you should provide a description. So concentrating mainly on EU SDR, but also tackling to other EU strategies if relevant. Not applicable field. Horizontal principles. It is also important to understand that the system will not warn you when, for example, this will be blank. You can push Save and see that the system gives no warning. So when filling in, please be very attentive that you fill all the relevant fields. Horizontal principles like sustainable development, you need to select the influence, neutral, negative, positive, and provide a description. Equal opportunity and non-discrimination. So here you also need to provide a description. Maybe your project will involve disabled people, marginalized groups, whatever. Equality between men and women. Also, you need to select out of neutral, negative, and positive. Save. And we move on to work plan and work package list. As I have mentioned, in total, there will be 2 work packages. The first work package will relate to management, publicity, and communication, and the second one will be thematic one. I would like to show you how the work package management looks like. The lead applicant is by default the leader of the work package management. The applicants shall select the partners who will be involved in the work package. So, for example, by ticking here, or it's up to you to decide who will be involved. All partners, actually, if you want all partners to be involved, you can do that and provide a description of the activities within the work package. Activities should refer to the project management and coordination, financial management, and quality management. In case the partnership decides to nominate a content lead partner among the ENI partners to take over the coordination of the content development of the work package management, should also contain a description of the coordination activities with the lead partner. The description should be included in the summary. I forgot to tell you that if your partnership will decide to select the content lead partner, it should be indicated in the acronym section that, for example, this partner will be a content lead partner. So please indicate it here. Let's go back. So here you fill in the summary description and objective of the work package. Here you can add activities and identify starting date, end date, budget, deliverables, also with target value or delivery months. So when you're finished with this, sorry, it's not the proper one. If you go to the thematic work package, also you need to identify a responsible partner, yes, and other partners who will be involved. Provide a summary description of the work package, outputs, program output indicator. This is an important part which should be outlined. As I have mentioned, the output indicator number of documented learning interactions in finalized operations is mandatory, and each project should include it. It should be peer-to-peer reviews, some trainings, and different activities. If you select other indicators, like, for example, number of strategies for strengthening institutional capacities and transnational multi-level governance development and or implemented. So it should be a strategy developed, obviously. Number of tools, if you develop some guidelines, manuals, which could serve as a tool in the process and to the change which your project is going to bring. Number of pilot actions for strengthening institutional capacities. If you want to practice some tool to show how if you develop within your project tools and you want to show and to implement them, so to say, you can also have some pilot actions, but of course it also depends on the time frame and on the capacities of the project. Target groups. Here you can select different target groups and they will be visible here. So for example, business support organizations, if we tick here, it will appear here. How will you involve target groups? Here you need to provide a description. Durability and transferability of main outputs. You should tackle this issue with regards to financial sustainability, institutional sustainability, and political sustainability. Here you also can add different activities, remove them, add deliverables, and in the end, save. Or you can even remove work package if you change your mind. Okay, target groups. So you predefine target groups and they will appear here. You need to create target value, for example, number of local public authorities which you are going to reach and tackle. I don't know, so for example, 5. Here you need to put numbers and here you need to specify. If, for example, certain departments within public authorities, or if it's civil society, I don't know, maybe marginalized groups, business support organizations, you can indicate namely what kind of. So here specification. Define periods. I will give a floor to my colleague Mirjana later, speaking on the project budget overview. And here I would also like to say that there is a folder attachment. You go here in order to upload all the declarations, partnership agreement. By pushing upload, you will select out of the documents and attach. Additional option, which is available within EMS system, is also save as PDF file. You can, at any stage of the project development, actually, you can do this. And in addition, more than one user can work at one application form at the same time. The lead applicant can give editing rights to some sections of the application form to other users, namely the project partners. So if the lead applicant is registered, he needs to ask other partners to register, and by pushing user management button here, he can type the name of the users registered and give them a role, add for reading, add for modification. For example, if the lead partner will finalize the whole proposal and wants other partners to read it through and make sure that everything is correct, you can add for reading. Or if you want to work on different sections with other partners at the same time, it is also possible by pushing the button add for modification. But of course, you need to understand that different users can work in parallel on the same application form. But when working on parallel, users have to make sure, though, that they are not working in the same section or subsection in case it is divided. So, and note that only the lead applicant has the role to submit the application form. Here I would stop my presentation and see what questions you have at this point of time. Simona, let me know if you answered or...
So I'm Mirjana Arsenic-Petrovic, if someone joined later, and I'm financial officer working in the Danube transnational program. Just a moment to share my presentation. Today, in my presentation, I will talk about I will give you, it will consist of two parts. First part will be that I will say a few words about what is important for a good project budget planning, so about financial management. And in the second part, I will give you the short overview of eligibility of expenditure with the practical exercise in EMS. Actually, I will continue what my colleague already started to fill in. We will go through EMS and fill in the budget. So proper budget planning requires to take into consideration following. So you have to take into consideration what are the work packages and activities to be done. Then what are the types and number of project partners? What are the budget lines and the expenditure which has to be planned and budgeted under the certain budget lines which are available in this call for proposals. It's good to think about if you can use some simplified cost options and is it good for your organization. Then very important is to follow the time plan of the project. That budget needs to follow actually the time plan for of the project. And the last, but actually the most important, is the spending forecast. It's very important that the budget is done in line with the spending forecast. So in this call, we have two simplified cost options which each partner can use. So under the budget line staff cost, we have possibility for flat rate up to 20% of the direct cost, and the budget line office administration cost are flat rate of 15% of the staff cost. Very important is that each and the same project partner can use and combine both options. If you are planning to have strategic associate strategic partner, the cost of the travel and accommodation costs, which are only eligible for these partners, should be part of the sponsoring partner's budget. So it is important to plan this cost under the sponsoring partner's budget. The equipment, which is really relevant and necessary for the project implementation, should be planned also in application form, and all the details should be included. In case there is a revenues, they have to be foreseen in specific field. I will show you later in EMS where to indicate this if if it's foreseen for this project. Also very important is to plan the control cost in case the cost needs to be borne and paid by the project partner. This cost should be planned under the external expertise and services budget line. For certain number of countries, the state is covering the control cost. But for Austria, Bulgaria, Germany and Moldova, this cost should be budgeted and paid by the project partners. For details, how to calculate which are amounts I strongly advise you to contact the national contact points, and they will give you detailed instructions. We also have a document on our website which provides this information. But for update and for more details and a precise calculation, I strongly advise you to contact the national contact points. The spending forecast of the project is very important to be planned by the project budget should be planned by reporting periods. And of course, that the spending forecast given at the partner level will produce the project spending level. In this specific call, the periods should cover 3 months, with the exception, of course, of the last reporting periods. The reporting periods are given in the guidelines for application form. I will show you later in EMS where you have to indicate them. Just a second. The spending forecast should be planned by each project partner. And as I already mentioned, it should be in line with the time plan of the project. So every budget should be structured in that way to take into consideration the time frame of the activities to be done in that certain reporting period or in a certain period, then the time frame of the public procurement, which should be conducted in time. And of course, the time frame of payment, because only incurred and paid costs can be reported into the certain reporting period. Sure. Excuse me, can you mute yourself because I can hear you? So thank you very much. Spending forecast is very important, and it's actually part of the subsidy contract. So the reporting periods and defined amounts per reporting periods will be indicated in the subsidy contract, and this actually will be followed, and the MAJS will assess this level of spending forecast during the implementation. You will have to report us in the progress reports every 3 months, and of course, detailing the reason for lower financial performance. I will repeat in my presentations some things that my colleague Natalia already mentioned, but just to emphasize the importance. So the number of project partners in this call, in these projects, should be minimum 2 project partners, 1 ERDF and also 1 ENI, but maximum 8. So 3 ERDF partners can be part of the same project, and 5 ENI project partners, of course, coming from the same country. So ENI from the same country. Budget per funds. So unfortunately, we have this limited ERDF funds. So the maximum ERDF budget per project can be 230,000 for all the ERDF project partners within one project. Maximum ENI budget is 2.48 million for Ukraine and 2.33 million for Moldova. My colleague already mentioned that our program is financing on reimbursement principle, which means that maximum EU contribution, which partner will receive back, is 85%. 15% needs to be co-financed by the partners or from the state contribution if their country provides it. So I would like to talk also to underline, very important, is to show you what is the time frame for reimbursement. So I mentioned that reporting periods are 3 months. After the 3 months, the submission of the progress report and the application for reimbursement by the lead partner should be done in 3 months. Then, after submission, the progress report is checked by the MAJS, and depending on the quality, it's usually approved within 30 days, but if it's not sufficient quality or there are a lot of missing information, we will send back for a completion, and this will definitely prolong the time for reimbursement. So I really strongly advise to produce the reports the best quality as possible and with all the information which are required. And then the reports will be approved without much problems. After that, after approval of MAJS, the payment procedure is done by the certifying authority within 10 days. So let's say it's necessary to have 3 months, around 8 months it's necessary to receive back the amount, so that every partner shall ensure the sufficient funds, and that's why it's important that financial capacities of the project partner are sufficient. Please be realistic with planning of the budget, because we see that the amounts are quite high, but we will not approve the budgets which are not really realistically reflecting all the activities. Also, very important aspect which has to be taken into consideration is usage of euro. Project budget and the partner budget are to be planned in euros. All the expenditure will be reported in euros. EU contribution will be transferred to the lead partners and in euros. And in case you will have some expenditure reported in the currency other than euro, it should be converted into euro by using the monthly accounting exchange rate of the European Commission of the month during the monthly accounting exchange rate of the European Commission in the month during which expenditure will be submitted for the verification to the controller. Just to be sure and just to underline, and you will find in the ineligible expenditure table which we have in our documents, that exchange rate differences and exchange rate losses or gains are not eligible costs. So we are not covering this. In my second part of my presentation, under the eligibility of expenditure, I will guide you through the most important aspects of the eligibility of expenditure by budget lines, and I will talk a little bit about the special eligibility rules. But before I go into the details, I would like to underline once more, even though my colleague already showed you, that it's very important to read carefully all our documents. All the instructions are there, so all the relevant informations are available. And I really strongly advise you to read them all, to go through. And of course, applicant's manual for ENI call consists of the most relevant information about the content part. Annex eligibility of project expenditures is really the document which consists all the information related to the eligibility of expenditure and budget. The guidance for the application form is the document where you can find all the technical steps and details how to create and submit the application form. Important aspect also is the eligibility, to talk a little bit about eligibility time. In general, all the project expenditure should be incurred and paid within eligibility project period, but we have exemption that with the 60 days after the end date of the project, there will be possibility to pay the expenditures incurred in the last last reporting period, and the control costs which are related to the last progress report and application for reimbursement. But all these deadlines will be included in the subsidy contract. Under this ENI specific call, we have available 5 budget lines, and all the partners' budgets needs to be planned according to these 5 budget lines. So we have staff costs, office administration, travel and accommodation budget line, external expertise and services, and equipment. As my colleague already mentioned, and I will underline that we do not have the infrastructure and works budget line, and we are not financing this type of activities under this call. Under the budget line staff cost, it should be planned the costs of the project staff which are directly involved in the project. So their salaries and all the other directly linked costs to the salary. Every partner has two methods of reimbursement to choose: real cost basis or flat rate, up to 20% of the direct cost other than staff cost. It's very important that each partner choose this reimbursement method at the beginning, now during the application phase, because this will remain unchanged through the entire project period. Few words about the both method itself. So real cost method requires justification and all the supporting documents which are necessary for submission. We have, it can be in case if the staff is working full-time on the project or part-time. If the staff is working part-time, we have three calculation methods: the fixed percentage, the flexible number of hours, and hourly basis. All details about these methods can be found in the annex of eligibility rules, and I really strongly advise you to read and think carefully which method is best for you. What I would like to mention here is that these three methods, so also these real cost methods, can be combined within one partner budget. On the other hand, flat rate method does not require any supporting documents. There is no need to be justified. So 20% will be allocated to the part if the other direct costs are reported in the specific reporting period and in the specific work package. Here is the calculation. So the basis, what are these other budget, other direct costs? So the flat rate staff cost will be calculated based on the budget line. Travel and accommodation cost, reported cost under this budget line, then external expertise and services cost, and then equipment expenditure under certain work package. And here, but I will show you also, you will see clearly when I give you example in EMS, how it works and how automatically calculates the system. Very important is that if you select the flat rate staff cost basis, then the project staff cannot be subcontracted under, for example, external expertise budget line. On the other hand, for the staff which on a real cost basis, the method should be in line with the usual practice of the partners organization. But I also strongly advise you to counter-check the controllers. The second budget line is office administration cost. As I mentioned, this is the flat rate. It's calculated as a flat rate on basis of 15% of eligible staff cost of the project. Here and also in our manuals, you will find the exhaustive list which comes from the regulation of the types of expenditures which are included under this list. Even though it is flat rate and you will not present costs, this list is important because this type of expenditures cannot be included under any other budget line. So that's why we have them, and that's why this is very important to follow. Travel and accommodation budget line. Under this budget line, only the travel cost of the project partners staff should be allocated, and we have two options. First option is option A, where the partners could claim, the project staff can claim daily allowances, including the travel cost, accommodation cost, and option B are per diems according to the EU-funded external aid contracts with accommodation meals. Which option the partner will choose, depending, he should choose in line with his institutional national legislation. In case you are planning to have travels outside of the program area, it has to be clearly identified in application form and definitely requires our approval. So it has to be clearly identified written in the application form. Also, under this budget line, the travel and accommodation cost of the associate strategic partner should be budgeted and planned. External expertise and services budget line. It's the budget line under which external the services and costs provided from the institutions, organizations, companies out of the project partners are performed. What is important, I already mentioned, you will have a list of them in the guidelines. But for example, under this budget line, you have to plan the partners which have to pay the controller's cost under this budget line. So cost of verification should be planned here, or for example, travel accommodation costs of external speakers and experts. Also, what is important, also cost of the stakeholders, travel and accommodation cost of the stakeholders should be budgeted under this work package, under this, budget line. In case you will participate in some events which are requiring registration fees, also needs to be budgeted under this budget line. Important thing here is selection of the providers of the services. We have here the difference, so it's very important to be taken into consideration. That's why I mentioned the public procurement. So how these processes will be done. ERDF project partners needs to follow the national program and EU public procurement rules, and ENI project partners needs to follow the Prague procurement rules. This is the main difference, because this is how it is set up in the financing agreements of the countries. So no national, actually, so Prague procurement rules. The equipment budget line, under this budget line should be budgeted equipment which is really necessary for the project implementation, and it will be eligible and acceptable on equipment which is listed in approved application form. In our later exercise in EMS, I will show you where is the place where you can write this. Full cost of equipment can be allocated to the project, but of course it should be in line with the national institutional regulations. If only depreciation cost, if not, so if it's not possible, then the depreciation cost can be allocated to the project. It is also possible, and if the project partner is planning to rent project equipment, to be budgeted under this budget line. I would like to draw your attention again to that the budget line infrastructure and works is not applicable for this call. Few words about the expenditures of the associate strategic partner. My colleague already mentioned that ENI project partner can sponsor the associate strategic partners from ENI countries, but they cannot sponsor ENI IPA countries, but they cannot sponsor the ASPs from the ERDF countries. Also, what is important to emphasize that ERDF project partners can sponsor ASPs from the ERDF, ENI, and IPA countries. Please note that associate strategic partners are not financing partners. They are indirectly financed, which means they don't have a separate budget. I mentioned already, but it's very important that the associate strategic partners, the cost should be planned under the sponsoring ERDF or ENI project partner, and they should be directly paid and reimbursed by the sponsoring ERDF partners under the budget line travel and accommodation. I advise you, if you are thinking to have a associate strategic partner or to be sponsoring partner, actually both should go to their institutions and check internal rules, what is really necessary to ensure that not staff members, can be financed their travel and accommodation costs. Also, the sponsoring partner should check with their national FLC about what are the national requirements, because actually the rules of the sponsoring partners institution should be followed in this case. I finish this part of my presentation. Now I will go live to the EMS and then show you the budget, what is important to finalize our application. So, as you could see, and my colleague also mentioned, that EMS does not provide you many limits, many warning messages. But I strongly advise you before, and also my colleague mentioned that several users can work on application in different sections in parallel. What is important from the budget point of view? First, you have to create several, and now I will mention which one, fields before going into the budget. So, project summary needs to be created, especially starting date and end date. Project partners needs to be defined and created, so you have to have a certain project partner. Then afterwards, under the work plan, work packages list, all the work packages needs to be defined, and define periods. As I mentioned already in my presentation, you have to define all these periods according to the guidelines on application form. You will see there you have very specific table which provides you all the details and deadlines. Of course, the end date will depend on your end date if it's earlier than 30th of June 2023. So after we defined all these fields, then we should go to project budget section. Under this list, partners list, you will have only financing partner. As you can see, you don't see the ESPs. For every partner, you have two sections, define budget section and define contribution. If you check define budget, if you tick here, you will see the partner's budget structured in 3 different tables. So first table will give you the overview of the budget lines per work packages. The second one will give you the overview of the budget per budget lines per periods. And the third one will give you the overview of the periods per work packages. That's why it's very important to have work packages and the periods defined already. Otherwise, your calculation will be not proper. And then you have to define the budget flat rates. You have to tick this budget flat rate box and confirm. In case the partner decides to have the flat rate staff cost, then this tick box should be ticked. System automatically gives you 20%. Flat rate office administration is set on 15%, but can happen that partner is not eligible to cover the, for some reason, the office administration costs. So then this percentage can be put on 0, but definitely needs to be ticked. So this is also important. So in this table, you have next to, for example, in certain budget line, in certain work package, you have a small pencil which allows you to update, to insert the data there. As you can see, since we selected the flat rate for staff cost and office administration, we do not have this option here for the staff cost budget line and office administration budget line, because system will calculate automatically after the amounts which we insert here. So travel and accommodation budget line, that's why I was mentioning that the project budget needs to be clearly defined in 3 dimensions, let's say. So you have to define it according to the work package, then the budget line, and per period. So we, for example, we insert now the certain amounts in a first reporting period. Sorry. Then, let's see here. And in the third, let's say that we have 400 euros that you plan according to this. It's very important to click save. You have save button on both up and down, so above and below the table. So now you see that this total amount of the budget line which we inserted is given here, and then the system automatically calculated the flat rate staff cost and the office administration cost. It's the same principle for all the work packages and all the budget lines. But I mentioned that under the equipment budget line, we have to clearly define the equipment that we need. You have here Design Plus, which you need to tick under the equipment budget line. And here you can define the equipment that you would like to finance from the project. We can, for example, write out just shortly now. Then save changes. And let's say one computer. Now system identified here the one computer, so the description, and we are allowed then to fill it in the amounts. Let's say that this computer theoretically will be bought in the first reporting period, and it will be covered, say, 1,000 euros. So, as you can see, the total amount of the staff cost went up because we were adding other direct costs. We are increasing the other direct costs under this work package. It is the same principle to fill it in also for the other work packages. And of course, you will have information of saved budget. So when you fill it in all the Sorry, I will just go back to show you one I was mentioning at the beginning of my presentation, the revenues, potential revenues, if you will have. You have to budget it. You will see here, there is the last option, it's not a budget line, but the line, the net revenue. So here you should define it if there is any. So after we define the budget of the partner, we should define also the contribution. Then this will enter this section, define contribution section. System automatically calculated how much is because it's 85%, so program co-financing, partners contribution. So this amount, this partners contribution, should be distributed according to the partners setup. So in case we have three options actually for partners contribution. So we have one public, so the legal status, private or automatic public. This automatic public means that the state contribution. 3 countries in our program are providing the state contribution: Bulgaria, Hungary, and Romania. Partners from these countries should select this automatic public and insert certain amounts under this budget line. Otherwise, if let's say this is the ministry or some public institution, we will select the public amount. So amount should be indicated here. I will delete now just for a moment to show you that in case you do not do this, when you click check save project, the system will give you the warning notice that the contribution is not matching the target value. So you definitely have to fill it in here. Okay, believe it will be corrected now. Yes, and partner's contribution is saved. So when you insert the correct one, you fill it in. Now we have successfully checked project. In the project budget overview, you will have different tables which are giving you different kind of information relevant for your analysis. You have the project budget for co-financing. The ERDF partners are in one table, and then ENI Ukrainian in one table, and for Moldova are there in another table also. So we have per partners, per budget line. So this is quite useful also for work packages and the reporting periods. So this is very useful tool for especially lead partner to follow and monitor the project. Also, when you define under the project summary, after define this co-financing here, also you will have the program co-financing tables per funds with all the details about the ERDF program co-financing and also the contribution, which will be given by the partners. Since our checks were successful, then the system will offer you the option to submit checked project. And you should click this, and then the project will be submitted and hopefully successfully also financed by us, approved late in the later stage. I finished my presentation and I will now stop sharing and let's see the questions.
Hello, now we are moving to the assessment session, which relates to project assessment. I'll share my screen. Hope you see my presentation well. So the application form is to be submitted electronically through EMS, as I have mentioned. What happens after you push the button submit? So once the deadline for submission has expired, the assessment is carried out by MAGS. The assessment rules are then presented to the monitoring committee members, which select the projects to be financed by the program. Following the assessment, applicants might be requested to fulfill some conditions and consider some recommendations with regards to their proposals. Applicants are informed about the results of the assessment through the electronic communication. During the assessment process, two different steps of criteria are applied to come to the decision of approving an application form: eligibility criteria and quality criteria. Eligibility criteria are of knockout nature. They should be answered only with yes or no, as they are not subject for interpretation. So no one will read your application form at this point of stage. It could be brilliant project idea and well elaborated, but if something goes wrong at the eligibility stage of the eligibility check, your application form can be rejected. Quality criteria, vice versa. So your application form will be read thoroughly, assessed on different points. I will go and describe you all steps. First of all, eligibility criteria. First of all, failure to meet any of the criteria below results in rejection the whole application form and the proposal. The application form has been submitted within the set deadline. So if you submit the application after the deadline, of course, it will be rejected. The application, including signed lead partner confirmation, has been submitted through the EMS. The application form is completed in English. Please pay attention, the language of the program is English, our seminars, our documents are in English, and the whole application pack should be in English too. Partnership is composed by minimum 2 financing partners from at least 2 DTP participating countries, of which the lead partner is located in an EU member state. The maximum number of ENI and ERDF partners is in line with the call rules. The proposal contributes to the mandatory output indicator of the program. Lead applicant is an eligible beneficiary. At least 3 joint cooperation levels are indicated. Completeness of partnership agreement. This eligibility criteria on this slide applicable to individual partners, and failure to meet at least one criteria below by one partner results in rejecting the single partner affected. So financing partners ERDF, ENI are eligible. So general eligibility rules for the project partners have to be observed. Completeness of submitted partner documents, including associated strategic partners. All the declarations, declaration of pre-financing and co-financing statement, state aid declaration, declaration for international organizations, and ASP declaration, they have to be filled in and signed by each partner and uploaded to the section attachments, as I have mentioned. Quality criteria are closely linked to the specific objectives and results of the program, and mainly remind yourself that this ENI call is opened under the specific objective 4.1. So each quality criteria is assessed on the basis of sub-criteria, with each being scored from 0 if nothing is included there. I put a stress that please be sure that you filled in all the necessary fields in the EMS. If it is not filled, if nothing appears to be there, the score will be 0. Up to 5. 5 is the maximum. So here let's walk through the assessment questions. Quality assessment main questions have 5 blocks, so to say. The first question is, to what extent is the proposal in line with the focus of the program and ENI call? The sub-criteria are defined using a set of questions, here you may see, to be answered by the assessor. Due to the complex requirements of transnational projects, these questions cannot be answered with yes or no, and the assessor must assess to what extent and to which level of quality the proposal answers the questions, and then the assessor gives an appropriate score. So to what extent are the main features of the territories involved and their needs and challenges identified and described? Are they connected to the scope of the ENI call for proposal? The more elaborated and concrete the description of needs and challenges, the higher the score will be. To what extent is the proposal addressing the identified challenges? How clear is the content between connection between problems and solutions suggested in the application form? Does the project take into account the constraints of the region covered by the proposal? So the better the activities match the identified needs or challenges, the higher will be the score. To what extent the proposal contributes to the EU policies, strategies, especially EU SDR. So the link between EU SDR, the project objectives and expected results, and the relevant EU policies or strategies has to be clear, logic, and comprehensive. The lead applicant should not just list the relevant EU strategies, policies, but shall briefly highlight clearly how the proposal is actually contributing to them. The link between the objectives and expected results of the project and the EU SDR action plan has to be clear, logic, and comprehensive. Is the intervention logic coherent with the program-specific objective and internally well-structured? This question also has sub-questions, like, for example, to what extent is the project intervention logic coherent and well-defined in terms of description of the specific objectives, expected results and outputs, link between the specific objectives, expected results and outputs, link between the needs and challenges. So the intervention logic is a very important point and it will be assessed separately. So be consistent when developing your application form. Next, to what extent the proposed activities and outputs are realistic to be achieved within the project lifetime. If the proposed outputs and results are achievable within the project lifetime and by implementing the proposed activities, and if they're realistic and correctly quantified, this will be also assessed under this subsection. To what extent is the work plan realistic, consistent, and coherent? So to what extent is the duration of the project and of the activities realistic? To what extent are the activities described in detail in terms of how they will be implemented, when, where, by whom? So when describing activities, please be also specific. Indicate which partners will be involved, when it will be happen, indicate time, duration. So everything will be considered during assessment. If the overall duration of the project and that of individual activities is realistic, it will be good. Also, the assessor will check if the sequence of activities and interdependence between activities are logical and coherent. Also, the assessor will check the coherency and comprehensiveness of the description of activities. And of course, activities should be described in line with the type of the involved partners. And everything should be consistent and explained very clearly. The third question is the target group defined and has ownership of the project results? High score is assigned if there's evidence that the mentioned target groups are clearly indicated and further specified in the work plan. The proposed outputs are answering their needs and they will make use of them also after project closure. Furthermore, the assessor shall check if the target groups are realistically quantified. Then, to what extent does the proposal clearly explain how the target groups will integrate use the project outputs? If the proposal clearly and concretely indicates how target groups will integrate the project outputs and will make further use of them after the end of the project. So clear reference to the specific project outputs and how they will be used by which target groups will also be checked. To what extent are the durability and transferability of the outputs clearly ensured? If concrete, specific, and logic provisions supporting the durability from an institutional, financial, political point of view, and transferability, for example, towards other regions, relevant sectors of project outputs and main results are provided. The more concrete, specific, and logic are the provisions for durability and transferability of project outputs and main results, the higher the score will be assigned. To what extent does the project prove to make a positive contribution to the program's horizontal principles? So the description of project contribution to the horizontal principles should be coherent with the overall territorial needs and with the program and project objectives. The lead applicant should outline how the project is bringing a contribution to the horizontal principles and how this is translated at the level of the work plan. In case of negative effects, the steps to overcome such negative effects should be realistic and time-bound. Is the partnership composition relevant, justified, and balanced for the proposed project? So partnership is extremely important too, as far as it also be a subject for assessment. The more appropriate the thematic and territorial competencies of the partners in relation to the territorial needs and challenges identified, the higher the score will be assigned. Please consider that the quality of partners and the networks they are gathering and representing are crucial for a high score. Commitment of right actors can also be achieved by key networks, clusters, or by co-funding by key institutions or by associated strategic partners. When checking the relevance of partners, 3 different groups of actors will be considered. Demand side, those who have to do something which need to act in certain field. Supply side, those having knowledge, experience, and result users that could also be other institutions not directly involved as partners. And please consider the orientation of the project. Yes, for example, international agreements orientation. According to this orientation, the relevant policy levels shall be involved. And also, to what extent is the role of partners balanced and relevance for achieving the main objective? So you can not just take partner, for example, ministry, because it is relevant, but it will not be involved in activities. It will be just nominal with low budget. All partners have to have a certain role within the partnership, and ideally their roles should be balanced and well justified in order to achieve outputs. And the budget also will be assessed. Is the project budget coherent and realistic? Of course. So we will mind and we will assess to what extent is the budget of each budget line coherent with the planned activities and involved partners. This criterion is reflecting the overall value of the proposal. The general quality, structure, and soundness shall be analyzed against the requested ERDF or ENI budget. Partners' roles and their role of financial and content lead partners also be assessed. Generally, higher budget allocated to them. Check the role of their partners, of their responsible partner to each activity and budget allocated, whether the budget is allocated appropriately. Also equipment, if specific equipment is listed, and are the equipment and equipment items related to project objectives and necessary for the implementation of the project. Is it traceable from the description of activities the project needs this specific equipment? Office equipment, whether it is realistic to the project side and staff costs. If equipment costs are not foreseen, the consistency between this and the activities is checked. The more inconsistencies are detected, the lower the score will be. Verification at national level. The partner countries through the NCP will provide the following information during the eligibility check. So support the verification of the legal status, support the verification of correspondence of declarations, declaration of pre-financing and co-financing statement, and support the verification of the correctness of the self-declarations on state aid. And state aid also will be checked during the assessment process by MAGS, and state aid is not eligible under the program. Hopefully, in the end of the project, you will not be so tired like this man laying on the ground, and you will come to us with a well-developed project proposal. Mind that the deadline for submission of the application forms is 10th of March this year by 3 p.m. Central European Time. For the time being, it's all from our side, and we can start our question and answer session if we have more questions for the time being. Simo, please guide us. Do we have something, link where they can find all the necessary information on the call for proposal? So, and there are a lot of guidelines and instructions, applicant's manual. Please read it. Hopefully you will find all the information there. In case you have some additional questions, feel free to come up to us, to me, to Mirjana, so you always will get support from the program side in this case. Thank you for participating in our today's seminar. Thank you for registering and finding an opportunity to participate today instead of the 9th. So hope it was productive, our seminar, and hope you will manage to develop good application forms. Simo, should we wrap up, right?
Yes, thank you very much. We wish you a pleasant lunch, and we hope to meet you as project partners. So have a nice day and goodbye.
Thank you very much, Simona,
Bye.
Mariana,
Have a nice
and
day.
Natalia
Thank you.
for the presentation.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Have a nice
Thank
day.
you. Bye bye.